distinguished guests in here. First, I would like to address United Nations Women Country Representative Dr. Sabin Mahal. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome. And next, I would like to address the Commissioner of National Commission on Violence Against Women, or Komnas Perempuan, Professor Dr. Dina Nurmila. And also, Voice of Indonesia and RRI Board of Management. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's been an honor for us to present the 22nd Diplomatic Forum, which is organized by RRI World Service Voice of Indonesia. And our Diplomatic Forum is live on online streaming at english.rriworldservice.com, at english.rriworldservice.com, and also on our YouTube channel, VOI Indonesia. And today, the discussion that we are going to bring on the floor is empowering to increase women's dignity. And this topic is chosen in conjunction with the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women in 2017 that will fall later on November the 25th. And before we start our diplomatic forum for today, we would like to invite Bapak Budi Nugroho, the Acting Director of RRI World Service Voice of Indonesia, to deliver his remarks. The floor is yours, sir.
Distinguished UN Women Country Representative Dr. Sabin Mahal and Commissioner of National Commission on Violence Against Women, Professor Dina Nurmila, Voice of Indonesia and RRI Board of Management. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm speaking on behalf of Voice of Indonesia Director Al-Nahar Ahmad, who cannot attend the diplomatic forum. First of all, let us thank God, the Almighty, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, that we have an opportunity to meet in diplomatic forum. This is not the first, this is the last for this year, 2011, but we organized, 17, we organized this diplomatic forum since 2011. Diplomatic forum is a talk show that discusses international issues by involving diplomats and various stakeholders. In this diplomatic forum, we take a theme, empowering to increase women's dignity. The theme is taken in commemorating International Day for the elimination of violence against women, which falls on 25 November. We would like to thank our honorable speakers that's already come. UN Women Country Representative Dr. Sabin Mahal, and then Commissioner of National Commission on Violence Against Women, Dr. Dina Nurmila. The other speakers, Ambassador of Islamic Republic of Afghanistan to Indonesia, Her Excellency Mrs. Roya Rahmani, will come later, and also representative from the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Children's Protection. Thank you for coming. Once again, thank you, and we welcome you all to the diplomatic forum. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Welcome for all of us in here. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, our topic today is empowering to increase women's dignity. And for all people who are coming in here, either the media and also all guests, we invite your participation to join this dialogue by presenting your questions directly to our speakers in here. And for the sake of convenience, before we begin our diplomatic forum, we would like to ask you to set your cell phones into the silent mode, please. And now, I would like to invite our speakers for today's talk show to come to the stage. The first one, I would like to invite UN Ambassador, we shall say, UN Women Country Representative, Dr. Sabin Mahal. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Sabin Mahal, before coming to Indonesia, she was the UN Women Special Representative in Palestine on February 2015 until August 2017. And finally, in September this year, she came for us and asked us. Welcome. Okay. And next, I would like to invite the Commissioner of National Commission on Violence Against Women, Professor Dr. Nina Nurmila. Welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Dr. Nina Nurmila was a professor of gender and Islamic studies at the Islamic University of Bandung, or UIN Bandung. And she also has written several books, and among them, the title of the book that according to me is quite interesting, Women, Islam and Everyday Life, Renegotiating Polygamy in Indonesia. Welcome to our diplomatic forum. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's diplomatic forum, I will not be your host because today's host will be my colleague, Anna Trijaya Kasih.
RRI World Service Voice of Indonesia presents Diplomatic Forum, a talk show analyzing strategic issues and global perspective.
Dear listeners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Diplomatic Forum of RRI Voice of Indonesia. In collaborating with the National Day for Elimination of Women Against Violence Against Women, which was on November the 25th, RRI World Service Voice of Indonesia is organized in Diplomatic Forum with empowering to increase women's dignity. Here we already have our distinguished speakers. Actually, we have 4 today, but the 2 hasn't come yet. But and the MC, Steve already introduced our speakers, but I would like to welcome them to the stage. Yes, the first is UN Women Country Representatives, Dr. Sabin Mahal, welcome. And then also Professor Dr. Nina Nurmila, who is Commissioner of National Commission on Violence Against Women, or Komnas Perempuan. So this diplomatic forum is broadcast live from Gallery 3 Prasetya RRI building and can be accessed through live streaming at English at rriworldservice.com and YouTube BOI Indonesia. You can join this program by sending your comments or question via our Facebook fan page, Voice of Indonesia, and Twitter at BOI Indonesia. And before we start our discussion, let's listen to a prologue on empowering to increase women's dignity by Ani Hasanah Mubarak.
On November 25th, the World Society will commemorate International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. As we know, violence against women in all its forms is a problem experienced by all states. According to former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, violence against women has spread throughout the world into all societies and cultures. According to statistics released by a victimization institution in the Netherlands, 23% of women in the country in South America, or about 1 among 4 women, have experienced one form of domestic violence. Similarly, the Council of Europe estimates that 1 in 4 European women experience domestic violence during their lifetime. India Today International reports that fear always haunts women across India and rape may lurk them on every street corner anywhere in any public place at any time. Violence against women commonly and almost certainly occurs because of the conditions of status, position, economic, politics, and education of women which have not been equal to that of men. In the economic field, women are marginalized because they do not have access and control over resources such as land and capital. In the political field in Indonesia, the participation rate of women in parliament is also relatively low. Although the number of women in parliament has increased from 11.3% in the 2004 elections to 18% in the 2009 elections, this figure is still far from expected, namely 30%. In the field of education, high school dropout rate in the country is still high. The latest report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, Education at Glance 2015 says that the dropout rate for senior high schools in Indonesia is 60%, and mostly by women. Male dominance in social, economic, political, and educational fields has made women vulnerable to becoming victims of violence. Therefore, violence must be stopped by means of women's empowerment in the fields of economy, politics, education, etc., through systematic and planned effort. What are the systematic, planned efforts for women's empowerment? Let's find out the answers in our today's Diplomatic Forum talk show themed Empowering to Increase Women Dignity.
This diplomatic forum is brought to you by RRI World Service Voice of Indonesia.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our discussion this morning, I would like to welcome Ibu Sridanti Anwar MA, who is representing Minister of Women's Empowerment and Children's Protection this morning. And Ibu, mohon naik ke atas. Okay, let's begin then. In our first segment of Diplomatic Forum today, we are going to get information about efforts in empowering to increase women's dignity. So the first question will be for Ibu Sridanti. Yes, you just said, but here is the question for you. So women's empowerment is an effort to realize equality of roles, access and control of women and men in all areas of development. So what's your assessment on the role of women in all walks of life? Do you think it's already equal? Many people said it's not equal yet. However, I would like to hear your opinion about this.
Hello, yes. Good morning, everyone. Morning. Referring to your question, we have to look at the indicators. What we use here at the, not only at the national level, but at the international level, we have two indicators when you want to see how far the achievement of women and men in all levels of development. First, the first indicators, what we use is gender development indicator. So based on the gender development indicator, the latest gender development indicator, there is a progress of gender equality of women and men in terms of education, health, and as well as in terms of economy. For example, in terms of the gender equality in education, there is equality in education, there is equality in education, there is equality. the achievement of men and women's role in terms of school participation is almost equal. But if we talk about the terms of economic empowerment, there is still a disparity in terms of purchasing power as well as labor force participation of women and men. So women's labor participation is still lower to that of men.
So the disparity is still what?
Yeah, it's a little bit wide, almost 30%.
All over the world or just in Indonesia?
In Indonesia.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, I'm talking about Indonesia.
Okay.
And then the second indicator we use is gender empowerment measurement. So in terms of gender empowerment of measurement, we can see that there's still quite a high discrepancy of women's role in terms of politics as well as in the decision-making position. There is still quite big, disparity. The role of women in politics only below 20%, while men is almost, more than 80%. So on the whole, there is a progress, but we still see there's still a lot of challenges in terms of the gender-based violence. Gender-based violence against women is still high. So you can see that 1 out of 3 women still experience a lot of gender-based violence in Indonesia. We have the data. Yeah, we did a survey with the Statistics Agency in 2016, and we found that 1 out of 3 women, the age 15 to 64 years, experience gender-based violence in their whole life, as well as in the 12.
What do you mean by violence here? Is it
psychological violence, sexual violence, or physical violence?
And mostly in big cities or in the regions?
Based on our survey, the dominant place of violence occurred in urban area. And then in terms of the education, most of the women in high school education, in SMA, senior high school education, experience violence.
So quite alarming there.
Yeah. So if you talk about 1 out of 3 women aged between 15 to 64 experience gender-based violence, if we look at Indonesia's situation, we compare to the whole population, it means 28 million women still experience violence. Yeah, but of course we have some strategies as well as policies and programs to address this issue.
Yes, that's what I would like to ask. What is being done to improve the quality of life of women in Indonesia?
Yeah, of course, first is in terms of regulation, in terms of the policy. In order to address the gender-based